Hi everyone, and welcome to this live student life session from a very sunny Glasgow today, actually. Um, I am joined today by our excellent panel, and over the next hour, our plan is to tell you and give you advice on all things student life at the university, from accommodation to student societies. We're hopefully going to get as many of your questions answered as we can. As I say, I'm joined by an amazing panel who all have their own experiences to share. And if you've got any questions over the next hour, if you're joining us on the web pages, we have a whole team dedicated to answering your questions in the text chat as well. But first off, I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Kyle, and I am part of the external relations team here at the university. I work in the student recruitment team and often meet with students around the world answering their questions, and hopefully, like we'll do today, getting you some answers on what it's like to be a student with us at the University of Glasgow. I'm just going to go round and introduce our student panel. So I will start with Navya. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I am Navya Grover, a second year common law LLB student, and I'm from India. And it's been great. It's been 2 years since I'm in Glasgow, and I think this is the best experience ever.
Amazing. And Ruvimbo?
Hi everyone, so my name is Ruvimbo. I'm studying social public policy and business management. I'm an international student all the way from Zimbabwe. I'm going into my fourth year now, so almost there. But yeah.
Nearly there, nearly there. And Aaron?
Hi everyone, I'm Aaron, second year undergrad student doing French and Spanish. I'm from Glasgow, and just currently sorting out my year abroad stuff for next year. And just looking forward, things coming up.
Nice. We're going to be talking about all things student experience today. But first off, I just wanted to really bring in Ruvimbo and Navya and to ask about that international student experience. We have an incredibly diverse student body at the university. We've got 140 different countries represented. So I hope that you'll agree that you hear different languages and different accents and you meet people from across the world on our campus. But in terms of getting here as an international student, was the process easy? Was it nice and easy to get yourself sorted and based in Glasgow when you first arrived? And I'll start with Ruvimbo and then I'll ask Navya as well.
Thank you so much, Kyle. I would definitely say that it wasn't the most easy process, but I will say that the uni was very clear on what you needed in terms of documentation, in terms of the steps that you needed to take. The process was quite long because you do have to sort out certain aspects in terms of finances. You need to sort out your flights, you need to sort out your visa. You have to do a couple of health checks as well that are required by immigration for you to be able to get into the country. So there's definitely a lot. But I would say that if you have like a checklist that you can make and just tick off everything as you go, then it makes it so much easier. Once you get any the confirmation from the university that you've gotten a place and you've gotten your CAS, then you should just start the process right away and begin to prepare. But it wasn't the easiest process, but the uni does make it a bit more easy to understand. And there's also a lot of information on the UK government website as well that can kind of help you to understand what exactly you need to do. Thank you.
And Nav, does that echo the move you had to join us in Scotland?
I completely agree with Ruvimbo. Um, in my opinion, moving to Scotland was quite adventurous. At first, it was a culture shock because of the accent and the weather, but soon it just started to sink in. And with all the support from the uni, it was really easy for me to settle in. Of course, I was moving far, far away from my parents, but there's always something fun to do in Glasgow, and you are just busy with studies and soaking up the scenery. So it was a great experience. It was tough, but I ha- the process was really fun.
Great. Yeah, I want to highlight. I think Ruvimbo, you said that it's good to make a checklist for, and I completely agree. That it's absolutely what internet. To be fair, for local students like Aaron, I think there's the checklists are probably a good idea when you're first starting at university as well. But just to highlight, for international students, we've got dedicated support as well. So we've got our international student support team who can help and are there to advise on the likes of visas and any what you're allowed and what you're not allowed to do as an international student in the UK. And then there's the recruitment team like myself. We've got that teams based around the world as well, who you can call on and ask if there's any questions at all from the point that you apply all the way through getting your offer to arriving in Glasgow as well. So there is support there. And I think international student support also have a checklist of things that you should bring. So have your own, but make sure it matches up with what they've got on their checklist as well. So just kind of drilling down into that, did you feel supported prior to arrival and also when you arrived, Ruvimbo, when you finally got to Glasgow? Did you feel supported? Did you use any of that support that was available?
To be honest, I didn't really use the support that was available. I think it's because I didn't know that I had that support and I could ask questions. But I did have like a university agent in my country that was able to help me go through the whole process. And I definitely took advantage of the website as well. There's so much information on the website, so I was just checking with what my agent was saying and what the university website was saying. And then where I needed a bit of help, I would email the university emails that were available to me, and then I would go from there. I did feel supported. I mean, you have your family, you've got your friends. I mean, you also have the university, which is the most important thing. So I would say, don't be like me. Now that you know that you do have support available from the university itself, take advantage of it, because there are definitely some things that the university does specially for international students that if you don't know about, you may miss out as well. A lot of things that when you arrive, you have a lot of support that I didn't know about. So I would say go onto the university website, send emails, send them the emails. That's their job. That's why they're there. And ask as many questions as you want. It could be, should I pack shorts in my suitcase? Or whatever it is, it can be as random as possible, but definitely take advantage of what's on the university website. Yeah.
That's very handy. And it's also good to know that you actually came through an agent, because I think a number of students on the call may well have come through agents as well. And they can be an absolute golden source for students that are looking to come to Glasgow in the UK. Very quickly, Aaron, did you settle in fine being a local student? Was it easy enough for you to come and join us at the university?
Yeah, I think I'm quite fortunate. I think also being from Glasgow, I sort of know the West End quite well anyway. Yeah, I didn't realise the size of the uni campus in general. I didn't realise how big it actually was, how many buildings there were, how many rooms there were. But once I got my head around that, it was kind of fine. And yeah, I think even I didn't have as many questions as potentially international students from abroad might have, but I had the odd email and stuff, and anything I asked was they replied pretty quickly. They were pretty helpful. So yeah, definitely an easier kind of adjustment. But even it's worth noting as well, for students like me from Glasgow, the people you meet at the uni as well, it's fantastic, the variety of cultures you come across, and the different people you meet and stuff. Because I think most of my friends actually at uni now aren't from Glasgow, and most people I was at school with in Glasgow have went elsewhere. So it's definitely nice to kind of be from here and also to meet people from how they see Glasgow compared to me as well.
Absolutely. And I suppose that leads on very well, because I'm going to ask about accommodation. And I know that you're likely within halls of residence to meet people from, we've said we're incredibly international. And so you're likely to have met people from around the world in the halls of residence that you're in, Ruvimbo and Navya. But was finding accommodation easy enough? I'll start with Navya this time, but did you find somewhere to live? Were halls easy enough to apply for? Do you want to tell us a bit about how you found where you're staying?
So I got in for September 2022, and I started looking for accommodation in February 2022. So it wasn't easy. No, so it was really easy for me to find an accommodation because I started looking for it well in advance. And I considered private accommodation flats rather than the university accommodation, because I went on to look for accommodation at the University of Glasgow, a website, but uh, somewhere, I don't know, it led to me being in private accommodation, if that makes sense. And because I was finding it uh, a little more near the university campus, because I go to the School of Law and it's near Byres Road. So I wanted to find accommodation that's just near it. So, but because I looked well in advance, it was really easy for me.
Fab. And Ruvimbo, is that similar to yourself, or did you have any issues, or was it a nice smooth road into accommodation at the university for you?
So for my first year, I would say it was it was much easier. So I came in just at the end of 2021. So after all those restrictions were lifted and I was able to come. But what I had done was I started doing my research way back, way in advance, and I kind of went through all these different accommodation options. And I had a list of what I did want. So I was very particular with my parents, for example. So I told them, I was like, I'm not a fan of like sharing flats or anything. So I did want a studio flat. So I looked at places that were offering that, something affordable as well. So, well, as affordable as a studio flat could be. And then I just applied and did what I needed to do. And then I got the place. But I will say that for anything that was after 2021, it was a bit more difficult, just because firstly, as an international student, there's certain things that you need if you want to stay in private accommodation. You need a guarantor for your accommodation, and you need so many other things to prove that you can actually pay for the place that you're staying in, and also issues with housing and all of that. But I would say that if you do start looking well in advance, you are more likely to find a place by the time you get to September, for example, than if you start like 2 weeks before you need to move in. It's much more difficult. There's also an app called Spare Room where you can just get a spare room, like just a room in a flat already, which kind of helps. So there are definitely a lot of options. And I would say that the uni also has facilities available if you're having issues with your housing or anything like that. You can reach out to them and they'll be able to help you. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, and we've got some of our key links scrolling as we talk as well. And the Student Representative Council have created a guide. So there's guides online on our websites, and also our own accommodation pages can help with that as well. Just to highlight that we do have a guarantee now for international students coming to join us at the university for accommodation. So long as you meet our deadlines and you meet some of the other criteria, you should be able to, much easier than post 2021, be able to find accommodation, particularly at the university. So I think you've touched on this a little bit, but was it easy enough to make friends at the university? I suppose through your accommodation and maybe through some of the other activities or classes that you've been taking. But Navya, I'll come to you, and then Aaron, I'm gonna ask you, being a local student as well. But I'll come to Navya first.
Since I'm in a private accommodation, yes, it's been really easy to make friends. But other than that, because I joined many clubs and societies at the university, it's a great opportunity to make friends because we have similar interest. And in the course where you meet your classmates in tutorials, that's a really good chance that you make friends because you're interacting with them each week. So I think for me, it's been really easy because I'm such an extrovert person and I have joined so many clubs and societies. So it's always good to meet new people.
Great. And Aaron, what about yourself? You mentioned that you've met people from all over the world, but was that easy enough to do, being a local student that's commuting in?
I think just to echo what Nav said, obviously for me, not being in accommodation with people is a bit different, but yeah, just getting involved in clubs and societies, I think, is the key. I think, the people you meet in club societies, it's a great way, especially because, if you're a tennis society or if you're in, if you join something that you all have in common, you always have that kind of general interest, and you always find it easy to get on with someone if you have that interest in general. So I think joining a society, a club, or whatever you're interested in, I can guarantee whatever you're interested in, there will be a club or society for it at the university. I'm in a lot of society just now. And there's more and more every year as well. So yeah, whatever you're interested in, there definitely will be something for you. And by all means, join that and get involved, because you'll meet some great people in the process. Definitely worthwhile getting involved.
Absolutely. I think that they just affiliated a Taylor Swift society, and I'm not saying that, Aaron, that you've jumped into the Taylor Swift society, but
it's not my cup of tea personally, but I imagine it's quite popular.
yeah. But getting a bit closer to the academics, then, I suppose, well, nobody's really studied a bachelor's before, but we get a lot of questions from students that haven't studied, asking how many hours they're going to study, what a timetable looks like. And maybe, Ruvimbo, you could tell us a little bit about what actually happens. How often are you in classes? What do those classes kind of look and feel like?
Thank you. I would say for me, so I study social public policy and business management, and they've afforded me the opportunity to do a lot of my learning at home. I think, especially for social public policy, a lot of it was online and still is online. And then I do have my tutorials, which you should have for most of the subjects. You have tutorials, and some group activities that you have to be on campus for. But for the most part, I could just be like at home on some days, and then I go into school maybe twice or three times a week. I did start my university at home in Zimbabwe. So I started off online, and then some of my subjects did continue partially online as well. And then with regards to exams and assessments, I have just a balance of both. I would say more assessments than exams that I actually have to sit for. And especially with social public policy again, most of the exams aren't necessarily in person. You usually get your paper or whatever it is, and you get to do your essay at home or your assignment at home, whatever it is. So there's a balance of everything. I've never ever in my time in uni felt like I was overwhelmed. And I would also say that even when things happen, because life happens in uni. Life doesn't stop because you're in university. Maybe something's happened at home, someone's ill at home, or there's an emergency. The university and your course coordinators and your tutors always offer you the support that you need. And in any case, if you need an extension or anything like that, and you do have a valid reason, they're always happy to offer you those things. So again, I've never felt in my time in uni, from the time I was in first year, like I had any sort of pressure on me at all. I speak to a lot of people on campus, and they're stressing out, and like I was going into the exam on Monday and people were stressing out, and I was just like, I can't relate to this. But that only happens if you take advantage of the facilities available. You do your work on time, don't procrastinate, don't do things the night before. um but even if you make the mistake of doing it, because sometimes you say don't do things the night before, and everyone has uh, everyone has their experience of an all-nighter. Don't feel so much pressure. Talk to the people you need to talk to your lecturers, talk to your teachers, see what they can do for you, and then you go from there. But yeah, I've never felt pressure in university, so
That is excellent to hear. I think what you've said is right in terms of having those open and honest dialogues with the people that you have to. I think that is really key, particularly for some of our some of our local students as well, but for our international students, knowing who your points of contact are when you get here, and also knowing that you can raise things as early as possible so that you're not in a mad panic the night before is some excellent advice. And I think that's what's helped you, Ruvimbo, from ending up in that crazy pressured situation, I think. But fab. Turning to yourself, Aaron, am I right in saying that you have a part-time work? Do you have a job?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to tell us just a little bit about, I suppose, how you came across it and how you came about working, and then how that fits into your schedule as well with
Yeah,
all
so
your
I think the most important thing in general, or the main difference I think between university and school, is that independence in terms of you're free to choose what you do in your time. You know, lecturers aren't going to be sitting there, you know, marking your work the next day, kind of being annoyed it's late. You know, they're not bothered about how often you commit. It's up to you. And in terms of part-time work, it's sort of the same that way. It's up to you to balance out what you do and when you do it, sort of thing. And yeah, I think for me, so I work in the ticketing office at the SEC and events campus in Glasgow. And it's really good because I work on a 0-hour contract, which for me works really, really well. So sometimes I might work like 15, 20 hours a week. Then this week I've worked none at all, just with exams and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's no right and wrong when it comes to part-time jobs. There's plenty of jobs out there in terms of, I know that SRC also offer jobs, like ourselves also do as content creators at the university. There's loads of jobs available, in terms of even just bar restaurant work. But yeah, in general, it's finding what works for you, I guess. And honestly, I think when I first started university, I think I actually went down Byres Road at the university, and I handed my CV to different like shops and just retail stores, or even like just that kind of thing. And I think in general, as long as you find what works for you and find kind of just what you can balance time around, then you'll be able to manage your uni work. Obviously, it's not ideal having I know some of my friends who work kind of 15-hour a week contracts, and it can get quite a lot when it gets to exam time and stuff. So as long as you find a way to balance out your academic work and your part-time work, then you'll definitely be fine.
And has the organisation of that been okay for yourself in terms of around that exam period? Has it been fine in terms of trying to juggle the two? Because I know that you say, there are some students that maybe take on more than they bargain for.
Yeah. I think my general advice there is kind of don't bite off more than you can chew, I guess. It's sort of making sure you don't do too much. It's for me, I recommend 0-hour contracts, definitely. There's also some good agency work you can do as well across Glasgow. Agencies that kind of supply venues with staff for like hospitality or bar work or cafe work sort of thing. And yeah, I think in general, just always communicating. I think as Nav mentioned, it's sort of always, it's always communicating with your lecturers, your tutors, your employers at work, always making sure that, because we are all human at the end of the day. We do have things or times where things are a bit too much or a bit too little, or we want more work, want less work, we want more help with studying. It's echoing that and making sure that that everyone's aware of kind of where you're at, because at uni it's not like school where some lecturers will know your name, some won't, some will never ever see you. You might have them first year, never see them ever again. You might have them for one class once, never see them ever again. Or you might have people that know you really well. So it's not like school where teachers all sort of know your name, they all know who you are. So sort of down to you to communicate that with them. And I think as long as you communicate with them well, whether it be your employer, your tutor, your lecturer, then you're generally kind of you're in a good position as long as you communicate well, definitely.
Fab. And it's worth pointing out that our career centre, there was a ticker tape down the bottom of our screen a minute ago highlighting our job shop, which is where the job hub at our career centre allows, it's where we as a university and where the career centre put part-time work that is available for students as well. So we do our best to try and show students where there is part-time work available, but I don't think you're alone, Aaron, in being a student that's gone down Byres Road with a resume or CV to try and find those jobs as well, because there are loads. There's loads across the city. There's loads of student jobs, and also in the university, like you mentioned, the Student Representative Council have them. There's also jobs as student ambassadors and tour guides across the university as well. And international students are allowed to work as well, up to 20 hours per week. We usually wouldn't push for 20 hours per week because that is a lot of working to be doing while you're juggling your studies. But on a visa, you're allowed to study those 20 hours per week as well. Kind of pivoting now, and I'm coming to you, Navya. Am I right that you got one of our undergraduate excellence scholarships to help you with your studies at the university? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's one of our scholarships that is £7,000 a year for international students. Is that right? Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a bit about finding out that you got the scholarship and what that's actually meant in practice? Would that be all right?
I had no clue that I'm getting the scholarship. So once I got my offer, that was a conditional offer, and I think within 2 or 3 weeks, I received the email for getting the scholarship, and I was so happy about it because I didn't know. But later when I read on the website, so if it turns out to be, if you are a really good student at high school, like you are receiving high grades like A grades, then you're automatically considered for a scholarship, which I think is great. So you don't need to apply separately. And having help from university like this has always been great. As an international student, I think it's been the biggest support for all the years that I have spent here till now. And it was a shock for me, but a happy shock.
Oh, amazing. No, well done. So just to highlight for our international students that are on the call, the primary scholarship that we have is the £7,000 undergraduate excellence award that Navya got awarded, and it is automatic, so you don't have to apply to it, and it is awarded based on application. So it's for highly qualified applicants who exceed our entry requirements in most of our programs. It's not offered across the entire portfolio of programs, but it is offered on most. So you can have a look on our website. The scholarship database is the website is scrolling along your screen now. But if you just type scholarships into the website search engine, you'll be able to find that database too. For those students who aren't international, it's worth having a look at your national funder. So be that SAS in Scotland or Student Finance England to find out about scholarships. There may also be some at the university, and yet again, that scholarship website, the scholarship database that we have on the website is the best port of call for all students, no matter where you're coming from, to find out about internal funding that we have at the university. But no, excellent, Navya. There you go. It's worth noting as well that £7,000 scholarship is for every single year of study, isn't it? So it's taken off all 4 years of study as well. So bringing it right back to campus, we've talked about the fact that there's all these things going on and that you can get jobs, but what is campus actually like, I guess? Do you have your favorite parts of campus where you can go and hang out? I'm actually going to come to Navya first, and then I will come to Ruvimbo as well. But Navya, do you have your favorite nook to study on campus?
Not gonna lie, it feels like you have walked into Hogwarts. It's really pretty with a mix of old and new buildings. There are so many places to eat, study, and spend time with your friends. My favorite places are the Ashton Lane and the Union because you can just spend time, de stress, everything. And my favorite spot to study is actually the top floor of James McCune Smith building because you get a view of the whole campus, and I think most of Glasgow. So I think those are the favorite spots at campus for me.
Amazing. Yeah, the brand new parts of campus, so the James McCune Smith Learning Hub, like you're talking about, they are very, very new. They're new in the last little while. So yeah, no, it's good to hear that you're getting use of them. Because we've kind of now got that ancient Hogwartsy part of campus right next door to the brand new modern bits. But Ruvimbo, have you used both sides? I'm assuming so. Have you been into the learning hub in the new bit as well as using the old parts of campus in the quads?
Yeah, so I've been to like both sides of campus. I would say my favorite side is the modern side. But I do enjoy the view of the old ancient traditional side of campus. I think my favorite spot is just outside like the main building that overlooks the rest of the city. I think that's where like the flags are and everything. I love just sitting on that bench and just overlooking the city. I actually do that a lot in my second year. And it's just like really refreshing. But when it comes to studying, I don't like the library. I think it's a bit too tense. I do prefer the James McKeon as well. If you go there at a good time, just after maybe like 3 p.m. when people start going home, you can find like a good spot to sit. It's nice and quiet, and you can just get your studying done. But yeah, I campus is beautiful. There's always like a picture moment around you somewhere, and that's just what I love about it, really. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, so as we've mentioned, there are these kind of two parts to campus now with the old ancient bits and the brand new the James McEwan Smith Learning Hub is really at the centre of the new build part of campus. So I mean, some of you may have been there when I was working on a building site for a few years, but we've now come out of that and we've got these brand new facilities, state of the art spaces for our students, and it does feel like you're at the cutting edge of what Glasgow University can be, alongside the kind of wood panelled ancient buildings as well. And it's worth saying that they are open late, so you can study. You can study up until, is it 10, 11 o'clock at night? So that we keep the spaces open so that students have the opportunity for those night owls to get those essays done if they've got deadlines coming up as well. We've already mentioned it, and I'm going to turn to Aaron, to yourself now, but clubs and societies, you've touched on them. We've decided that you're not into Taylor Swift, so that's fine. But what societies have you joined? What are you involved in? What are
Yeah, so I'm part of, I'm part of quite a few actually. I'm part of the tennis club. I also joined the F1 Society. I joined the Hispanic Society, the French Society, and the Glasgow Guardian, which is like one of the uni newspaper sort of thing, kind of uni publishers. And yeah, just in general, there's just so there's such a good can't think of the word, but there's such a great environment, a good atmosphere around the societies in general. There's a really good sort of vibe to it because you've all got that same thing that you're interested in. And also there's no even if you don't play tennis or you're not a journalist, or I'm not a journalist by any means, but I had interest in joining the paper, so I just got in touch with them and went along. And you'll find as well, these clubs are very, very sociable. It's more of a laugh. It's quite it's not serious. Everyone's students. They're kind of, everyone's priority is their academics. So the clubs and societies are just a kind of side thing of to wind down or to go out for a pint or enjoy yourself a little bit. It's not as intense as an actual job would be or anything. So in general, societies and clubs are really, really good fun. They've been my kind of main way to meet people, and yeah, a great way if if you aren't sure about after your degree what you want to do, or if you're not sure what you might like, or you've always had a passion, you're not the chance to actually fulfill the passion as such, whether it's like art or writing or a sport or an activity, a club. I think even one I went to last year, a really funny one actually, called the Bad Film Society, the Bad Movie Society, and every Thursday they put on a really bad film and everyone just sits and has a laugh and watches it. So even silly things like that, there's loads of really good clubs, societies, and loads of sort of things like that where you can always get involved. And yeah, it's just good fun. Definitely worthwhile joining.
And what is the time commitment on that for yourself, Aaron? It seems like you've joined a fair few, and then you've got your job, and also you've got essays and exams to be doing as well. What is the time commitment on clubs and societies? Do you do tennis once a week, twice a week?
It's what you make of it, really. There is no, when you join the club or society, you don't have to be there every single day, every single week. We know some guys in tennis who, they will come once a month, or sometimes come to socials events. Every Wednesday there's social events, so that can be pub crawls, or even there's also sober socials, we call them as well. So there's obviously drinking socials, sober socials. We go bowling sometimes. We're going on a holiday to Portugal at the end of May. It's a good, there's no, even within tennis, there's a lot of different people as well. Within different societies, it does, even though they have that same interest, there are differences in people as well, obviously. But yes, in general, that there is no time commitment, really. It is what you make of it. You can even, Sorry.
No, I was going to say, with the sports, do you compete against other universities as well? Or
yeah, so with the sport, you can be different. So there's different memberships you can buy. So you can either be a social member, you can be a team player, you can also just be like a general member. And depending on, I think a lot of guys in tennis, actually, from my understanding, don't even play tennis, but they're interested in tennis. And yeah, it's just a good laugh that way. I think some guys do play, and we've actually got a really good men's first team now as well. We did really well this year. So yeah, in general, you don't have to be Andy Murray, but you can still enjoy it. It's a good laugh, and people are very nice. You'll find that people, a lot of people are on that same boat. When I first joined uni, even though I'm from Glasgow, when I first joined, most people I know had left to go elsewhere. So I kind of felt like I'd almost moved somewhere else, almost as such. But actually, I realised I'm everyone's in the same boat here. Everyone's coming somewhere new. I've actually got it really easy because I'm going 10 minutes away. Some guys like yourselves are traveling thousands of miles away. So it's definitely an experience, and also people are nice to you, and if they're not, you don't have to go back. There's no commitment, If worst comes to worst, you just leave it.
Absolutely. And Ruvimbo, as one of those people that travelled miles, I take it societies and clubs have helped for you to find places to go, people to meet.
So I'm actually one of those that didn't join many societies on campus. I am part of one society called Believers Love World, and it's a Christian society. And they do have societies around the United Kingdom. So there's one in the University of Birmingham, and there's another one there. So you do have times where we all gather together from different parts of the United Kingdom and have different events. So that's kind of helped me to make friends. And I would say that my closest friends are from that society as well. And it's also allowed me to meet first year students, second year students, PhD students, master students, maybe students that you wouldn't normally interact with all the time. And I would say that as an international student, that's helped me. I remember one particular time where someone from the society I was in first year. Well, it was my first year in Glasgow, but I was in second year. She bought me groceries. I was like, "How do you know I needed groceries?" So there are little gestures like that that people do for you that make life a little bit more easier as an international student. But I would say that definitely there are also societies on campus that are specific to maybe your country. So there could be as Aaron said, like a Spanish society. So you could even be from Spain and you just join it. But obviously, you don't have to be Spanish to join the society. But it just makes it a little bit more easier. Or there'll be in the African and Caribbean society. So you're more likely to find people from your country. I know for me, I found two people that actually went to my high school as well, that are younger than me at some point. So all those things do help you settle in a little bit more. You literally link up with one person and you're like, okay, you're gonna be my friend for the rest of my time in uni and you're not going anywhere. So it's like that. And as Aaron said, most people in Glasgow are very, very friendly. And if in any case you don't find a friendly person, you don't have to go back. But it's very rare to find nasty, mean people in Glasgow. So, as an international student, it just makes settling in so much easier. Join a society, join a few clubs, do a few external activities, extracurricular activities, and you'll settle in much faster. And also, I would just say to add, everyone is looking for friends, so don't think that you're the only person looking for friends. Everyone wants to make friends in uni, so just relax. You don't have to be anxious. Everyone's looking for a friend, so chances are if you ask someone to be their friend, they're going to say yes because they're looking for a friend too. So yeah.
Oh, fab. It's worth saying as well that all of our societies that are affiliated are open to all. So, like the Afro Caribbean Society, for example, it's open to all. You don't have to be from that region. And the same with our academic societies, for example. You don't have to be studying chemistry to join the Chemistry Society. I know this from my time at university, where some of the international societies had some of the best food on campus. So I was to join them. But Navya, you've joined student societies, did you? Do you want to just very quickly mention some of the ones that you've joined?
So in my first year, I joined the dance society and I got to go to Edinburgh as well as Newcastle for a competition. So that was a new experience for me altogether. And then in my second year, when I had more experience in clubs and societies, I applied to be a committee member as well. So I think they both are really different experiences, but all in all, once you have a club or a society, there's always something for you to do on a weekly basis. Like you have socials, you know that there are the people that you can rely on if you're struggling, because you have same interests, you interact with them on a different level. So I think joining clubs and societies is a great way to meet new people, make friends, and of course practice your extracurricular activity, whether it's dance or just something related to law, in my case. So I think it's a great way.
Fab. And I'm going to come back to what Ruvimbo said about Glasgow being friendly. We are well renowned for being an incredibly friendly city. Aaron is maybe a little bit biased being a Glasgow local, but I'm sure that you'll agree that Glasgow is an incredibly friendly city in terms of what we have on offer and also the people that live here. But Navya, just to echo Ruvimbo, do you agree? Do you think Glasgow is an incredibly friendly place to be based?
I absolutely agree, because the locals are always up for a chat and a laugh, and they'll always offer you a helping hand no matter what, no matter where you are in Glasgow or in Scotland. Um, and Glasgow is student friendly as well, so there are many places where you can find student discounts, there are perks, and then there's this public transport which is really decent and students can get around it really easily. And I think interacting with locals on public transport as well as other places, I think it's been uh, great. I have never had a problem with the locals here. Yeah.
Hey, amazing. Aaron, I really should ask, do you have anything you want to add about your city? It is an incredibly friendly place. I've been here,
It
what,
is,
6 years now, but from a
yeah, no,
local.
honestly, I think from my point of view with Glasgow, I think I've lived about elsewhere with family and stuff as well growing up. And being based in Glasgow primarily, it is, it's got a great reputation as a city as well. It's well known to be friendly. People are generally quite nice. And for a big city, you do find a lot of big cities like, like London or Manchester or, New York, Tokyo. People can be very, in a rush or very aggressive, very angry. And, Glasgow's not really got that. People are pretty friendly. People are just, people are very chatty. They like to talk a lot. If you use the bus quite often, you'll find that as well. People like to talk. Randomers might come up to you and just have a chat. And you learn some interesting stories, definitely. But it's it's a good city. It's people are nice, and it's in general it's a good vibe. Everyone's always up for a good chat. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, we've got nods all around there. I think it's everyone's agreeing. Everyone's agreeing. But what about outside of Glasgow? Ruvimbo, have you been around the rest of Scotland? Have you travelled? I guess the UK as well. But have you been up to the Highlands and Islands or seen the other cities? Been to Edinburgh?
So I've actually been to Edinburgh thanks to the free bus pass. So I've been to Edinburgh and I've been to Dundee as well, and I just love Glasgow, Scotland. I love Glasgow, but I do really appreciate like the cities outside as well. I think every city is very unique. Dundee reminds you of like not necessarily like the seaside, but it kind of reminds me of the seaside. Um, and then Edinburgh again. Edinburgh is a little bit much faster than Glasgow, so more similar to like London or maybe Birmingham. Glasgow is much slower. I haven't had a chance to go to like the Highlands, but I will definitely take advantage of those things. I will say that as an international student, or even as a local student, because just because you are from Glasgow or you're from Scotland, it doesn't mean you've been around. It's always good to take some time to just go out, get some fresh air, sit by the water, do something nice, and just see the country, see the city. You're here anyway. You're paying to be here anyway, so you may as well just take advantage of the opportunities. As Nav said already, it's quite easy to get around. No complicated system like the London Underground. So it's just the subway or the bus stations, and you're literally off. So it's literally about just deciding to go and going, grab some friends with you, grab some food, and just go and see. But yeah.
It is super easy to get around, and particularly with Glasgow as a base. I mean, we say you can be in Loch Lomond in less than an hour, I think, and you can be in Edinburgh in 45 minutes. And getting around is super easy as well. It's actually really interesting to hear other people's views of how the cities relate to each other. Like Edinburgh being slightly slower. I've not heard it. Glasgow is much bigger, but the take on it is really interesting from students here and our international students that have joined as well. But I'm going to move on just very quickly to talk about, I mean, we know that costs in the UK have risen. They've risen around the world for an absolute plethora of reasons, I guess. But has cost of living, what are your cost saving tips, I guess, for people coming to join us as students in Glasgow? Do you have any great ideas? You've already mentioned the travel. I think with a Young Scot card, which is free to get, you can travel for free on the buses. But are student deals and student discounts easy to find in Glasgow and across the UK? I'll come to Aaron first.
It's fair to say that I go out quite a lot, whether it's pubs or bars, and I'm well known to go out quite a lot. So I definitely come across some good deals. But yeah, I definitely in general weekdays I think as well. Everything, because the uni is such a good location of Glasgow, is probably the nicest part of Glasgow. The uni's in the West End. There's so much around there, and because it's such a nice area, and there's so many students that are there, most cafes and stuff, or pubs or bars or restaurants, they all have student deals or student days. And yeah, they're all made quite visible. They're all quite there to see. And yeah, I think in general, saving money. I'm lucky I don't have to pay rent, thankfully. I do know the rent prices are quite steep. But even in comparison to London or Manchester, Birmingham, I think they're actually still quite reasonable compared to them. So Glasgow is, even transport is pretty well priced in Glasgow as well. Obviously, the bus passes are free, which is so handy. The subway, the trains aren't that expensive, so definitely it's expensive, like a lot of places in the world, but it's not unreasonable. I think it's definitely manageable, and I think if you shop in the right places like your Aldi's, Lidl's, if you don't drink too much or have kind of go to fancy bars too much, you should be okay. There's loads of student deals out there, whether you're a fancy diner or a Guinness drinker or a cocktail maker. There's something out there that's going to probably float your boat.
Fab. Ruvimbo, do you have anything to add in terms of those cost saving or student deals? The way that on you go.
I would say definitely firstly live within your means, and budget accordingly. Make sure that you're saving as well, because life doesn't stop after university. That's the first thing. So definitely like have a look at like what your budget actually is. And then there's so many websites that have like student discounts, so I would sign up for those. All A lot of stores like Deliveroo, Uber Eats, they all have like student discounts from time to time as well. So definitely take advantage of those things. But definitely like in terms of your budget, as Aaron said already, be reasonable about where you shop. Lidl, Aldi, but also sometimes you can price match and compare prices even to the more expensive stores. You'll find that sometimes they're actually cheaper for certain things as well. I don't always buy this like everything from one store. I'll go to Savers for some things, I'll go to Aldi for some things, I'll go to M&S for some things. So just sit down, relax, don't get caught up in the uni life before you actually sit down with yourself and have an honest conversation with yourself about where you're at, because that's how people then end up maybe squandering their money and then having not being able to afford certain things. And then in terms of like housing and stuff and budgeting for your rent, I'd also say like it's easier to just get your friends, move into one place, and then split the bills accordingly. Winter is more expensive in terms of like your electric bill if it's not included in your rent. So sometimes just get a hot water bottle instead of sitting on the heater, or do little things like that that will help you in the end. I will say that cost did go up, but I would say don't be so scared of that, but rather ask yourself how you can manage and what you need to remove. Maybe don't buy the fancy milk, just buy the normal milk. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Great. Navya, do you have anything that you want to throw in? Do you know of any great student deals that we can share with everyone?
I think the best apps for student deals is Student Beans and Uni Days. You need those apps in your phone, because from clothing to accessories, food, drinks, everything, they have discounts on everything, and I think that's the best part of university life, just to keep saving money and spend a little where you want to. But I think with the deals and discounts, I think it's a great way to save the money.
Hey, amazing. So coming towards the end, I've just got some pretty broad questions for all three of you, really. Outside of, I suppose, cost saving, just what are your top tips for anyone that is coming to join us at the university, be it as a student who's based in Scotland and the UK, or as an international student? If you've got any absolutely excellent tips that maybe you hadn't thought about before you came and joined us in Glasgow, do you have anything that you want to share? Any wise words for anyone that's listening today? And I'll come to Ruvimbo first. If you've got any top tips for our offer holders that are on the call.
I think the first thing I would say is join groups on Facebook. There's always like groups with people, maybe offer holders for 2024, for example. Join those groups and literally just randomly message people. Hey, how are you? Obviously at your own discretion. Hey, how are you? I'm going to this university, whatever it is. Can we be friends? Can we talk? And just have conversations with people beforehand. I think that's one thing that helps me as well. Meal prep, cook before, so that like on days where you are in school for quite a while, you just get home and you have food. But those are like the top tips I would give. And I'd also say if you are an international student, make some time to call home as well. I know that a lot of international students may not be able to travel back home because of costs or other reasons. So make some time to call back home, call your siblings. Sometimes you'll realize you haven't spoken to your siblings in like 2 weeks. So make time to call them. And also just don't stay in the library, don't stay at home. Go out, get some fresh air, and actually enjoy Scotland. It's a beautiful country. So do take advantage of it. Yeah.
I think calling home is great advice, whether you're 10 minutes from home or whether you're on the other side of the globe, to be honest. I was 2 hours away and my mum still wanted to hear from me. Navya, we'll come to you next. Do you have any great top tips for students that are coming to join us?
I think just go all out, join clubs and societies, and it's the best way to make friends, try new things, take every opportunity that comes your way, because you don't know what you're going to explore. um, and I think don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's your lecturers, flatmates, or all the people at student support. I think they're always there to help you. And I think Scotland is a really pretty city, and you should go and visit around with the Young Scot card. Don't miss an opportunity to look around and explore new places.
Fab. And Aaron, as someone slightly closer to home, what's your advice for the offer holders that are joining us?
Just absolutely echoing what you guys have already said. Make the most of it, honestly. Everyone that I chat to graduates, they always, whether it's my mum and dad, for example, they always say university is the greatest years of your life. Yeah, it's difficult, the workload's tricky to balance, but Scotland's a great place for that, especially because you've got cities like Glasgow, Edinburgh, but also you have that Loch Lomond, the Highlands. You've got a really great balance of everything so close to you. And yeah, honestly, it's my general advice would just be to make the most of it, because it does fly by really quickly. I can't believe I'm one exam away from finishing second year, and then I'll be my third year. So it's it does fly by really quickly. So absolutely get out there, join the club societies, socialize, like Ruvimbo said as well. Get involved in Facebook chats, WhatsApp chats, and yeah, get out there and definitely. I think also things like Freshers Week is a great chance to get out there and meet people. So yeah, all these things, just make the most of them. I think if you follow the uni page and stuff and the SRC page, they're really good at letting you know when events are happening, whether it's gigs in the QMU or sort of themed days in the union or those kind of things. There's so much going on, so definitely give them a follow, because they're really good. I look at them all the time myself to see what's going on at the uni. So definitely get involved and yeah, just get out there and yeah, just explore your options and just enjoy it, really.
Fab. The second to last question I have for you all, it's just if you had to bring one thing that you would highlight that they should bring in their suitcase when they're coming to Glasgow, what would it be? Navya, do you have one thing that they should bring, that the students should definitely consider packing?
I think summer clothes, because during April, May, it starts getting hotter. And there are some of my friends who have forgotten to bring summer clothes, thinking that Scotland's always going to be so cold and windy. But no, in June and July, there's always some or the other heat wave happening. So I think summer clothes is the way to go.
That is some excellent advice, and it's something that probably us Scots would maybe forget to advise on, based on the fact that the weather's often not in that sunny heat. But we do see the sun; it's quite nice today.
Yeah.
Ruvimbo, what is your thing to remember in your suitcase?
I would say like comfortable boots or walking shoes, because it does rain a lot. Despite the sun, it is always raining. Even in summer, it does rain. So some nice waterproof shoes, I would
That's
say.
very true. And I think that you're likely to walk more in Glasgow than you might do where you're from in the world as well. As an international student, we tend to walk a lot in Glasgow, I would say. And
Yeah.
Aaron,
Just to echo Navia said, I'd probably bring a jacket. Yeah, we have some sunny times in Glasgow, but I'd definitely bring a jacket because the weather is not the best, but it's also not terrible. It's not. I think it's often exaggerated a bit worse than it actually is. It's not great all the time, but definitely a jacket's worthwhile bringing, especially if you're not from Glasgow. You'll find it quite cold at first, but you'll definitely adjust.
an umbrella can often be not the best idea. So a jacket is often the best way to go. An umbrella will often turn inside out thanks to the wind. If the rain is likely to be wind. Cool. So very last question for today, and it's just, what is the best part of being a student at the University of Glasgow? I'll ask each of you what the best bit has been, and Aaron, I'll come to you first this time round.
I just love it. Honestly, I really enjoyed the entire experience. It's difficult to actually pinpoint one specific experience or one specific thing that has been the best for me. But honestly, just just make the most of it, because time does fly by. You the more you get involved and the busier you become as well. So yeah, definitely being part of the uni community, being part of the city in general is a really great opportunity and a great experience. So just make the most of it, definitely.
Fab. And Navya, I'll come to you next. What is your advice for the students looking to join us?
I think the best part of being a student at UofG would be the campus life. That's an experience it's a different experience altogether, because there are many universities in London. I think all of them, they do not have a proper campus. And I think I would always choose a campus life over anything else, because once you go into classes, there are friends, they're walking around, the hustle and bustle of the university campus is what you're looking for at U of G. And I think that's the ultimate thing of being a student at U of G.
Absolutely. And Ruvimbo, to round us off, what is your highlight, your best bits about
I
you?
would say the diversity on campus. I would say that people from everywhere. You could be in a class and someone's from Cyprus, you're from Zimbabwe, someone's from Glasgow, but a different part of Glasgow. So definitely the diversity, the fact that you never really feel left out or out of place. It's very nice. I think that's just my favorite part of being at the University of Glasgow. The diversity, the inclusion, it's amazing. Yeah.
I think that is a perfect way to round off the session. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Hopefully, you can enjoy the rest of today's offer holder sessions. There are more that you can find online, and they're running throughout the day as well. Thank you very much to our panel, to Aaron, Ruvimbo and Navya. That has been great and incredibly informative. You've shared a lot, and I think there'll be some. I think the checklists are now incredibly full, Ruvimbo, that you mentioned at the start of things to remember. But yeah, if you've got any questions, remember that there's support and that the inquiry form is online if you've got any queries, and our recruitment teams are also around the world to help you as you navigate your way to the university as well. So yeah, it just takes a huge thank you from myself. Thank you to the team in the background who have been answering questions in the text chat. I think there's been a fair few by the looks of things as well. So yeah, thank you very much and have a good day wherever you are in the world. Thanks very much for joining. Have a good one. Bye bye.
Thank you.